The Lexus Postgame Report, brought to you by Northtown Lexus.
Nothing like a win in your first postseason start. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen earns that, joins some great company in Sabres history. He's the 16th ever to start a playoff game for Buffalo, and he's supported by Alex Lyon. Isn't that a beautiful sight, given that both were 20-game winners in the regular season? And Marty, we, from our place here on the 200 level, can hear way over yonder from the atrium as people leave the building. It is a raucous crowd on the way out of Game 1 tonight.
So a little this or that for you, Duffer. What do you think was loudest tonight when Samuelsson scored and after Tage had made it 2-2, or when Ryan Miller won his first ever playoff start, a double overtime against Philly? RJ Umberger gets hit by Brian Campbell in that game. Like, that gave me the chills thinking about that game because of the goalie graphic. And we talk about all these Sabres goalies that have had their first playoff games, first playoff win. Luukkonen gets a win in his first playoff game, but the last one was Ryan Miller, and that was the Philly game with RJ Umberger hit. Brian Campbell did. 05-06
season, which was celebrated throughout this year and specifically in January with reunion night. There are many ties, including the offensive balance that this team has had compared to that 05-06 team that catapulted itself right back into the playoffs after an absence and a lockout that prevented that opportunity for growth. The growth has been huge for this team this year, and it was on display in the third by their offensive leader, Tage Thompson, who is the Lexus leader on night one of the playoffs. How could he not be? He rescued the team from a 2-goal third-period deficit with his first 2 playoff goals.
But what is one of the trademarks of Tage Thompson? The hands, the skills, right? To be able to go toe drag in behind the net and then go short side on the backhand for the wraparound, and then this play. Look, you got Payne Krebs in the slot. He's like, no, I'm not going to you, Krebsy. I'm taking it to the net right there. It was kind of interesting because, you know, that would have been the right play to make to Krebs, but Tage Thompson is like, no, I'm going to take that to the net. And obviously with the 2 goals, the 7 shots on goal, a huge performance by the leader tonight.
And it's, I think, even more pronounced, if possible, when you find yourself in a 2-goal deficit, and how or why are you there? Because of Boston's top offensive players and a 2-point game at that point for David Pastrnak, right? And that was the storyline coming in. How are these top players going to perform? It was Megan's first point in our pregame tonight, and both of them deliver for their teams.
It was Geeky also who scored the first goal, had an assist on the Lindholm goal. Elias Lindholm, a big part of the middle line that I talked about in the pregame. It's Lindholm, Zaka, Mitten, right, against Thompson, McLeod, and Norris, and how that's going to balance out. But obviously, you've got a guy like Tage Thompson, and you're down a couple of goals. And Robbery mentioned, I think Lindy Ruff is going to rely on that line a lot. It felt like they got the building energized. They had a few chances, and obviously, they came through with a couple of goals. And look, let's not downplay the Mattias Samuelsson goal, because there was a weird moment where the defenseman for Boston came behind the net, had a clear attempt at making that puck go around the wall.
That was Lindholm.
Broken stick. That was Hampus Lindholm. Yeah, broken stick. And then there was an exchange between Pastrnak and Lindholm for a stick. That opened the door for Quinn to attack the net right there and slide it to Samuelsson. Little details in a playoff game make a big difference. And obviously, that was a big difference right there.
And while it ends up being 3-point nights for Pastrnak and Geeky, it's the Sabres that emerge in a come-from-behind win. 4-3 the final tonight. Let's head down to the room. Roswell Park locker room sound. We start with the captain after his playoff debut.
Well, Rasmus' first playoff game, crowd got a bit out of it because of the score, but then things turn around so quickly. What do you see from the offense to get going there?
The question is our offense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know we have a lot of talent. We know we can turn games around. Hell of a character out of all the guys in the locker room to turn it around. That was cool.
It seemed like you just started getting pucks down low and winning battles down there. Was that the key, you think, to get the offense going?
Yeah, you know, we try to get the pucks behind them all game, and eventually their D get tired when you do that stuff. So we just try to wear them down, and eventually we got some goals.
How much was Tage just a beast on both of those goals? Just the way he dominated the puck down low?
Yeah, you know, we always talk about dogs have to be dogs, and today he showed up and led the team. That was special. We're gonna need him more.
Rasmus, what was the reaction for you guys when Samuelsson scored?
Awesome. You know, especially him. I love when he scores goals, and but yeah, that was the game winner. So it was good.
I'm sure you've had dreams about the Game 1 crowd here. How did the real thing compare?
It was definitely cooler than expected. You know, I couldn't hear anything except for the crowd, so it was awesome. Run it back next game.
Rasmus, why did this team refuse to lose tonight?
Good character. We stuck with it the whole game, and we trusted our plan. So that was great character by the group.
Do you think they were nervous early, just the emotion of it all for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of guys that haven't been in the playoffs, so we just kind of let them play their game, and after first periods, I think all the guys kind of like settled in and played our game.
How much of it was Swayman, and how much of it was maybe you guys didn't get enough guys to the net until when you started scoring goals?
Yeah, I mean they're tough defensively, so it's hard to get to the net. But eventually, if you do it over and over again, eventually it will work. So it was good.
Rasmus, what was it like in here in between the second and third period?
Calm and collect. We trusted our plan all game. So, like I said, great character by this room.
Again, it was an interesting punctuation mark on the game, the offense from the defense in the form of Samuelsson, because both Rasmus and Samuelsson have been, you know, inside the top 10 this year in even strength goals by defensemen. And on a night when you wished the power play would have been able to give you something more, it almost inevitably falls at 5-on-5 play. That's the majority of time in all of these games, and that's where Buffalo found their difference maker tonight.
Yeah, and obviously having maybe scored a power play goal would have helped you along the way, right? And maybe you don't have to wait until the last 8 minutes to get 4 goals, including the empty net game winner, which is, you know, sometimes it happens. But, you know, the power play could have put you in a better position.
Yeah.
And I think that's still a working situation for the Sabres. Mm-hmm. But 5-on-5, like this is they stole a game for me, in my opinion. Like, they were the better team. The shots are going to show that. The scoring chances are going to show that. They were the better team, and Swayman really kept the wall up for the better part of the game. But I do feel like at the end of the day, you stole a game from Boston. They're up 2-0. When the clock goes under 10 minutes and it starts the single digit, that game tightened up a little bit. So that's a still of a game, and maybe something that the Sabres are comfortable doing, you know, during the season too.
Right. I mean, I mentioned at the end of the second intermission that it felt like the late March game, and Buffalo did have a pushback in the third before falling in overtime. But of course, their only victory against the Bruins this year was in late December in this building when they were down 1-0 and emerged with a 4-1 win. So we've kind of seen this script before, but we've also seen the Bruins play with this pace, this style, this comfort for the most part in defending against a more offensive team. So I'm interested what you know, the Marco Sturm message to his team would be after a game like this.
Marco, what was your message to the team after a game like that when they have to bounce back so quickly with a game on Tuesday?
Nothing, just let them breathe and let them regroup, and we will attack it again tomorrow.
Just overall tonight, it seemed the way you had the neutral zone set up, it was stymieing Buffalo's Russian speed. Is that something you'd want to see carried over into Game 2, despite how this finished?
Yeah, like I said, we didn't really give up Ottman rushes, so that was a good thing. Again, guys, listen, we played a really good hockey game for us, yeah, we just couldn't finish it, and that's the frustrating point. But it's a long series, and we were prepared, and we wanted to come here to Buffalo and get a win, and we didn't get it today, so we're going to try our best to get it the next game.
Coach, you shut down the Sabres power play 4 times tonight. What works for your PK group against the Sabres?
I don't know. Again, I got to look at some stuff, but I felt like we played, we were organized, we played structured, always had good sticks, and you know, interrupted a lot of plays of them. So I think that was a big key.
Marco, was there a thought to a timeout at some point during that push?
No. Again, we felt good. We felt really good. I think if you look at the game and even when they scored, we felt good. Again, there was for me, there was no need to.
Five guys made their playoff debut today. What did you think of those guys that didn't have experience and how they played?
No, they were fine. I mean, it's something. It was something new for them, but they handled it pretty well and didn't make really any big mistakes. So, all 4 lines, I thought they brought something to the table today, and they did a good job.
There's Marco Sturm and the Boston Bruins on the wrong side of Game 1, despite leading 2-0 into the final 10 minutes of the third period.
And then listen, if you're the Boston Bruins, you say, yeah, we were playing our style of game that we've been playing all year. Jeremy Swayman is a top 2, top 3 goalie all season. Why? Because he's had to face pushes from other team. He's been able to put up the wall. The Sabres were just able to break through a little bit more in the late stages of that game. But I think if you're Boston, when you let it slip one, it's, there's an old cliche. It's not a series until you win on the road. Well, it's still, the way it's going. But it hurts the way you lose sometimes. That hurts a little bit, the way you lose if you're Boston, right?
You know what's becoming cliche? That 50-50 is huge. Presented by Northtown Automotive, another record-setting night as we hit almost $400,000. 392-391. That's the final total. What great support in arena and across the state. You can get in on the next 50-50 before Game 2 in mere moments. All you got to do is go to sabres.com/5050. And, of course, these funds, so critical in our community, get redistributed by the Sabres Foundation. Thank you for your support tonight. What a supporting cast the Sabres assembled this evening in their comeback attempts and success against the Bruins. 4-3 they win.